1997's Men in Black is a perfect movie. Whether it's the chemistry of lead stars Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, the score by Danny Elfman, or Barry Sonnenfeld's wonderful direction, MIB is pretty much the ultimate 90s blockbuster. A gloriously creative sci-fi comedy punctuated by a banging track from the king of summertime himself. The original Men in Black grossed over $500 million at the box office and spawned 3 sequels, an animated series, which you should all go watch, that thing rocks, games, and plenty of merchandise. Cumulatively, the 4 Men in Black movies released to date have grossed over $1.9 billion at the box office, according to Box Office Mojo. So why does its production company and distributor, Sony Pictures, insist that the first movie made a loss? Yes, even though it was made for a reported budget of $90 million, the first Men in Black is apparently yet to turn a profit. Let's dive into why. Hey folks, Ewan here for What Culture, and in light of the recent Writers Guild of America strike, I thought it would make sense to revisit Men in Black, and more specifically, one of the most bizarrely infuriating behind-the-scenes stories that's been brought to light over the last few decades. The practice of Hollywood accounting, and how the writer behind one of the biggest 90s blockbusters hasn't been paid a single royalty for his work. Now, it shouldn't be controversial to say that writers are the backbone of the movie and television businesses. Without scripts, you don't have anything to shoot. Without writers, you get stuff like Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. And yet, consistently, over the years, writers have been mistreated by the Hollywood studios, exploited, overworked, and undervalued. It's little wonder that fresh strikes are ongoing at the time of recording, with the Writers Guild of America fighting for fair and equitable treatment for generating the ideas that makes Hollywood its billions. But what does Men in Black have to do with all this, I hear you ask? Well, it serves as an unfortunate example of how writers are mistreated by the studio system, and it's something I may not have discovered had it not been for the film's writer, Ed Solomon, speaking up about it on social media. Solomon, who you can also thank for writing all of the Bill and Ted movies, and seriously Ed, thank you, adapted Men in Black from the Malibu comics of the same name, collaborating with director Barry Sonnenfeld to create the ineffable fusion of whimsy, action, and comedy that Jones and Smith channeled so well on camera. The screenplay for Men in Black is a real thing of beauty, a funny, rapid-fire adventure that provided the ideal basis for Sonnenfeld, Elfman, and effects artist Rick Baker to work their magic and bring that world to life. Without Solomon, there is no Men in Black as we know it today. He was integral to its success. However, despite Solomon's instrumental role in the development of the first Men in Black movie, in the last 25 years, he is yet to receive any kind of royalty payment from Sony. Solomon has highlighted this over on his Twitter on several occasions, twice in 2019, calling his profit statement, quote, "the greatest work of science fiction he's ever been involved with." Solomon followed this up with another tweet in 2021, which stated that the film was losing money at a faster rate, quote, down over $6 million within a year. Because many contracts stipulate that royalties are dependent on films turning a net profit, this means that Solomon has never shared in the spoils of the franchise he helped spawn, even though the film obviously made loads of money, and it would cost relatively little for Sony to actually pay him. What Solomon highlighted here was the dark art of Hollywood accounting, a process where studios creatively twist the numbers to make it seem as if a film hasn't turned a profit. By doing this, they get to avoid pesky things like paying taxes to governments and royalties to creators set to benefit from net profits, thereby keeping more moolah in their coffers. The practice has been ongoing for decades and continues to deny creators their share of a film's success, which is how we end up with the farcical situation where a billion-dollar franchise can still somehow be in the red, as is somehow the case with Men in Black. Now, Solomon is far from the only creator who has been affected by these practices, which, while legal, are deeply unethical. Darth Vader actor David Prowse famously didn't receive any residuals for work on the third Star Wars movie, while filmmakers Peter Jackson and Sylvester Stallone even took their studios to court over alleged profits owed on the Lord of the Rings franchise and Demolition Man, respectively. The practice is endemic in Hollywood, and despite public controversy and potential legal challenges, the studios seem quite content to stay the course, partially due to it just being how things are done, but also because of the tax benefits and the fact few writers have the weight or legal resources to make it an issue in the first place. So, what does Hollywood accounting actually entail? Well, speaking to NPR in 2010 on the Planet Money podcast, Edward J. Epstein, the author of the Hollywood Economist, which dives into the dark financial arts of the movie business, described the process of said practice and how films can generate millions against a smaller budget and still end up in the red. Using the example of Gone in 60 Seconds, Let's Ride, a Disney-produced car crime caper which starred Angelina Jolie and Nicolas Cage, Epstein described how, even though the film was considered a success by then CEO Michael Eisner, grossing $242 million against an $103 million budget, according to Disney's own profit statements, that gross was swallowed up by a number of different costs. Theaters reportedly kept $129.8 million and remitted to Disney $101.6 million. $67.4 million went to advertising costs, which when combined with logistics costs and other expenses, apparently brought the total profit to $11 million. This apparently led to the movie being $90 million in the red, meaning it has now made a loss. Home media sales and TV residuals apparently do not make up for this either, leading to Gone in 60 Seconds somehow making a $212 million loss, despite a portion of those losses essentially being fabricated, as it's essentially just money the studio has charged to itself. Now, this is because each movie gets set up as its own company by the studio that is making it. That company then pays fees to the company that is already producing the film to begin with. The biggest of these fees is the distribution fee, which according to Epstein can be 30 to 35% of any sale on that film, be it physical media, streaming, TV showings, or merchandise. This also creates illusory income. Actors receive contracts that include an upfront payment, but also payments contingent on net profit. A contract could be worth $10 million, but most of that could be comprised of net profits that will never actually materialize. Epstein argues this is done to guard actor, director, and producer contracts, and for agents to protect their value by hiding their upfront salary. But the other consequence is that creatives are denied money they were promised that the studio basically never had any intention of paying. Now, actors can potentially go without that contingent income depending on the salary they've been paid, but for writers who are paid a less significant wage, the denial of net revenue is more egregious. Sometimes movies can, despite the creative accounting, make a net profit too, but this tends to be rare. Studios do also occasionally go back and tip talent outside of the net point system, but it's not a practice that's applied consistently. Man, going through all this Hollywood accounting stuff, I kind of feel like Kevin Costner and JFK, just like with the anime glasses and everything. We're through the looking glass here, people. Now, obviously this isn't the case for everyone involved in a film's production. Actors, directors, and writers who negotiate gross profit contracts as opposed to net points, referred to by Eddie Murphy as monkey points for the fact they basically never materialize, will earn money on the first dollar grossed, meaning they earn on the revenue accrued immediately rather than once the accountants have twisted everything and made the books look weird. However, as Taylor Snickers of the British advocacy group Tax Justice Network writes, while some big-name A-list actors may well be able to negotiate for a share in gross profits, the vast majority of them can't and are stuck with only monkey points. Now, clearly this system can't go on, but the sad thing is that it's likely to persist, and not just persist, but maybe even get worse the further we move into the murky territory of streaming. As noted in a report by Semaphore, the WGA argues that streaming has depressed writer wages due to short order seasons and companies paying at the lower end of pay scales while also gutting writers' rooms. On top of this, streaming residuals are paid out at a lower rate compared to traditional broadcasts, despite these platforms generating millions for their respective companies. Numerous commentators have noted that the streaming boom has led to more opportunities for writers, which is true, but even with more work on the table, creators aren't being given fair or equitable treatment, which is why strike action has been called. Now, Hollywood accounting in itself isn't the main focus of the WGA's ire. More broadly speaking, this is a strike on receiving better compensation overall, which does include residuals and better contracts. However, the dark arts that lead to films making a net loss, and thereby deny creators their share of the profits, seem unlikely to be addressed for now. As long as that continues, only a select few in the movie business, big actors and directors, will be able to negotiate better contracts or pursue profits owed. The sad reality is that a lot of talented folks, the Ed Solomons of this world, who give us amazing things like Men in Black, do not have the sway or resources to challenge the system and get the rewards that they deserve. And yeah, that was our look into the dark arts of Hollywood accounting and how it can make even the most successful film look like it's losing all the money in the world. Men in Black is one of my all-time faves, and yeah, it really does suck knowing that one of the biggest driving creative forces on it hasn't been given what he's owed. Also, I know I said this in the end of every video, but if you did enjoy this, then please be sure to give us a like and a comment. We have more non-list stuff coming, which I'm really excited to share with you, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on Hollywood accounting down below. If you're new here and like the cut of my jib, then why not hit that subscribe button too? Either way, I've been Ewan, you've been watching What Culture, and remember, I'll see you, but you won't see me. Bye! If I had a neuralizer here, it'd be going off. Just pretend that these are sunglasses.